I want third. I don't just want to be in the Champions League place anymore. We deserve third. We've been there. I want third, Matthew.
I want second.
Okay, we've got Jamie all the way in Orlando and NFFC South Florida, I believe. So that's Orlando. Statsman Will is going to be heading over to Orlando to watch the Everton game, and he's looking to link up with them. So big shout out to them. We've got NFFC Southwest, the Southwest branch. That's Jan who set that up. They had a branch day out against Man City at the weekend. What a day to pick. Unbelievable stuff. And then we have NFFC Indonesia. I saw them crossing the Trent Bridge there, looking over at the City Ground. Probably not for the first time. They've probably done it before, but they were at that game as well. What a game that was. We beat Man City. We're 4 or 5 days after. We're doing an Ipswich preview today. We've taken another scalp, Matt. How are you feeling about Forest now?
Oh, I was wondering on the tube yesterday, do I prefer supporting them in the season we got promoted to now?
Well, we had that conversation before, but yeah, go on.
Yeah, but this idea of like, you know, some suggestions have been made that there's a changing of the guard in football. Not changing of the guard as in new teams replacing old, the big six teams, but there's a shifting of sort of economics of it, where actually all the teams can be more competitive effectively. That will be great, but if that's not the case, doesn't it actually become boring?
No,
it doesn't. Isn't the chase and the hunger for like Eric Lehigh scoring a volley against Arsenal and 2 goals in that game I haven't felt like that for ages. Although I don't know why I'm starting off going down this track, but yeah.
Yeah. But this is the track that I always know you go down. The problem with you is you love to hate things more than you love to love things. That's the problem with you. You're addicted to, and I'm
melancholy.
Yeah, it's such melancholy. We're 2 minutes in, right? Every single podcast since then has happened and reflected on an amazing win against Man City. Like an amazing day, another clean sheet against the billions that they've spent. And we've Ryan Yates coming off the bench to shore it up. And we've Dominguez having a great game. We've Callum Hudson-Odoi scoring a cracking goal, even though Chelsea only sold him to us for 3 million. We've Morgan Gibbs-White playing an incredible ball cross field. We've lots of people that I've just read out going to this amazing game. And Matt goes, do you remember the championship run or the time we beat Arsenal in the FA Cup? It's like you are addicted to the melancholy. But what I suppose what I want to do is I want to implore you to just let's go down a positive train for a bit, and then halfway through I'm going to have a go at you for a few things I've got lined up anyway, and then it'll go where it goes. So look, let's just be positive about the weekend's result. We've just come off. I went to Newcastle a few weeks ago, and we were 4-1 down at halftime.
You love just dropping in that you've been to a game.
No.
Yeah. Yes.
No, I was getting to you because I went to that game. Then you went to the Arsenal
you go via you going to a game first.
Okay, I won't go via.
My melancholy. I know it's a bit like name dropping. It's quite funny.
Why would I name drop that I've been to a game? You need to calm down.
Because you're you, mate.
Do you know what, mate? I've been bitten by potential fleas or midges down in the countryside here in West Cork. I'm painting a house. I have a crick in my neck, which is why I'm leaning slightly to the side. I feel like you are biting me like those insects right now. Every day you're at me. After Forest Focus, you were like, you said these wrong things about on the Forest All Over podcast the other day that you weren't on because you're never available. You went, Chris, you didn't set it up. You didn't do right. Wicklow, I feel sorry for him. Like, shut up and just enjoy the moment and start being positive.
He gave you some bait and you just move on. Thanks, Wicklow, for covering us.
Yeah, well, you've given me the bait this morning. You've given me the bait this morning. All I want to do this morning is just enjoy the fact that we beat Man City. We've Ipswich at the weekend. And I want to talk a little bit about being in the quarterfinal of the FA Cup as well. Like, this is our weekly Forest All Over catch up. Me and you. Like last week, we hadn't won a game in a few. We'd drawn with Arsenal in midweek, but we were still upbeat about the Man City game at the weekend. And I think we all sort of predicted a draw. But like, you understand what I'm saying? I'm just trying to listeners are listening to this going, wow, the preview for Ipswich is up. They see the thumbnail, they click on it, they go, oh yeah, what's this? And then suddenly Matt comes on and goes, do you remember when Eric Lehigh scored in the FA Cup 8 years ago against Arsenal? It's like, Jesus Christ, man.
8 years ago. God.
Do you know what? I think your problem might be? I had a phone call with your sister the other day. I haven't spoke to her in a long time.
Anyway, keep talking about my sister and podcast, but go on.
Yeah, well, just she'll be listening.
Because we do need to get on to Ipswich.
Well, do you know what, Matt? Can we we'll get back to your sister in a second, but can we wrap up City at the weekend? I mean,
yeah,
you went to the Man City game that we drew 1-1 in, right? And you remember the thunderous roar. There's a big moment for you in the Premier League that you were complaining about. The thunderous roar from the crowd when Chris Wood scored that late goal. Matt Davies mentioned to me he was at the game this weekend. Obviously, I was chatting to him afterwards, and he said he said, I keep thinking if I've heard, because he was at that Man City game that you were at, he goes, the roar was so loud when the goal went in, because it was the 83rd minute, Callum Hudson-Odoi. We kept them out for so long, and we just had such a great defensive display all across the pitch. Isn't it just amazing, that those moments? And I think I suppose that's what I'm getting to is, these are the games. Like you say to me, oh, do you remember the chase? I don't care about the chase. The chase was amazing 21-22 when we went and did that run all the way up. But we did it for this. We did it for this. We did it to beat Man City, who have billions. And you know the changing of the guard thing that you were talking about? I'm going to finish this sentence, even though I've gone on and on and on. The changing of the guard thing you're talking about.
None of us believe you that you'll ever finish a sentence, but go on.
Oh, gosh. The changing of the guard that you're talking about. I can't finish the sentence because you keep cutting me off. The changing of the guard that you're talking about. That's a good thing. That's what football needs. It needs, you said to me in January, football needs Nottingham Forest to compete with Liverpool when we were in that mini toilet race at the time. Football needs Forest back in the Champions League. It needs teams like that up there. I don't know if it needs Bournemouth up there because they aren't my favorite team right now. But football needs this, and it's great for us. Like, it's unbelievable that we're here. And I think at the end of the season, you'll look back and reflect and go, wow. If Forest make the Champions League, you'll go, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm going back to 94, 95 when you were on the terraces watching Paul McGregor score that goal against Lyon in the UEFA Cup, and it might be the Champions League this time.
Yeah, it's a whole new generation for it now. And I mean, the chase is still on. We're chasing European domination now, I guess, which is hilarious. But we're getting there ahead of our time, and a bit like we got promoted ahead of our time. We're now getting to Champions League ahead of our time, and then who knows what? It's just funny. I mean, we are where we are. We've just got to enjoy it. Like I've said before, many podcasts, I am more interested in that. Football is a game of moments, and being a fan is about the moments. So next, it's Ipswich, and we just have to enjoy. I mean, the expectation is to go and win.
Yeah, I
just
mean,
to go and win.
Well, I suppose you said to me midweek, I said, mate, we beat Man City. This is amazing. Now the Ipswich game, there's less pressure, but we'll go out and win. And you said, no, Chris. Don't act like we don't have to win that game. And you know what? I've had to think about it. I agree with you for once. We do. We still have to back this up now. We are better than Ipswich. We have to go beat them in Portman Road, don't we?
Well, we could very, very easily slip out of the European spots if we don't maintain some sort of form now. We need to go and win.
Well, yeah, we do. But I mean,
what would you do if I've got 2 points on this? And there's a worse of two evils here, but they're both pretty bad. The first one is I'm generally annoyed that the year we, as Forest, potentially get into Europe or even the Champions League, but any kind of Europe, there's just this sort of like shadow of Bournemouth getting in the picture as well. It's like, oh, don't ruin it. I want us to be the only.
Well, hang on. In terms of here's your spiteful side. You'd rather we get into the Champions League and they still manage to get into Europe than both not. You're not like one of those drag them down to hell people, are you?
No, I think I'd rather we both didn't than both.
Oh my God! You're mad. You're losing your mind.
Obviously, I want us to get it and them not. But the fact that Bournemouth are getting up there, and that's just. They seem to be liked more by them. Everyone's like, oh, but there's still this like, oh, but it's Forest and it's Nuno, and we all said that. That's just so. Darren Fletcher said it brilliantly on his speech about this at the end of one of the other episodes, and he said, "I hope some of those pundits are eating sour grapes. And I hope they eat humble pie and apologise for the way they talk." He's so like I have been for years about Marinakis and pro Marinakis.
Do you know what's funny? I was listening to that in the car the other day. It was a great episode. And as he said that, I thought, if Matt hears this, Matt is going to be absolutely loving it. I agree. I think that
you agree now. You didn't agree before. Let's not. You're not getting away with that.
Well, hang on a second. I always agreed that the media was going hard on us, and I always agreed that they were unfair. And to your point, and this is something I want to pick you up on. I've always
you're also tiptoeing around the Marinakis stuff. You know me. I'm full on.
Well, I about 2.5 years ago,
I've got him tattooed on my ass, and you're a bit like, well, it's good.
Well, hang on a second. There was moments where I was questioning some of the transfer policy, maybe when we were signing 30 players. But I was
questioning it now. Are you questioning it now?
No, but Matt, you're making me out like I'm TalkSport. Listen to me. I love every time. Every time those transfers came in, I would do a new show. When Morgan Gibbs White was bought, I called it Money Moves, and me and Will went on. We went, yes, Marinakis is gone and got his man. And then I posted out about it. You didn't do the social media about we've got him.
Look, I'm not 10.
No, but the problem I have with you is, and this is, I don't want to go on about this, but the problem I have with you is, you bring up a narrative as if it happened and it's like totally true when there's like 2.5 years of me praising the ownership, praising recruitment, but occasionally once I'll criticize something small and you'll go, you weren't always singing this tune, as if I was Jamie O'Hara and Jason Cundy just going nuts at Nottingham Forest 2.5 years ago, or the time Tony Cascarino said Cooper would be sacked. It's just not true, but you're looking for an opposition and you're not going to find it. Well, you found it now anyway. But my point is, you've won the war because you brought me to the arena. But my thing is, I don't want to go on about, like, I literally have been, like, there was moments where I was praising some of that recruitment. I think maybe there was a moment where I went, gosh, have we spent too much when we signed 22 players that first summer and then another 8 in January? But, like, as time went on, I was defending.
We didn't have a squad.
Yeah, but I was yeah, I agree. I was defending it. I was.
So why are you still going? There was some bits. Let's just get behind him. He's given Forest the opportunity to rise from the doldrums.
Matt,
that man needs
every podcast episode. No, hang on.
Imagine the Robin Hood statue just gets replaced by a bigger like Marinakis with a beard Robin Hood statue. That'd be brilliant.
We can have this conversation right off air because it's going to waste the listeners' time every single time. If everyone wants the proof, they can go back over the course of this podcast. They can hear me criticize 1 or 2 things about every manager and every owner. But for the most part, I backed it 100%, and I hated the media going Chris. You're not even on the podcast. You don't even listen to me. So how the would you know what I do? Right. So it's just, it's unbearable. I woke up here and I'm leaning to one side. You've just about made it, by the way, this morning, once again. And I have to go through this crap with you. So it's really unbearable, but you're like black and white. Pick one side, pick this side or that side. There's lots of shades of gray. Now,
that's true.
Bournemouth, to your point about Bournemouth, because I don't want to shout for the whole podcast before people turn off. They probably already have. To your point about Bournemouth, I want us to get a European place, even if they do. But the thing that you said is really true. The media seem to go, look at Bournemouth. Wow, that's amazing. With Forest, they're starting to say that over the course of the last couple of months. But in reality, Bournemouth were ahead of the process in terms of like being able to sign players and have Premier League players than us. They were up and down in the Premier League. We were straight up and had to go and do what we did. And they're not giving us any credit for it. And I think you're right, to Fletch's point. I hope they're apologizing now. I hope the media are going back and rewriting their own history and saying, oh, and they're eating the sour grapes because, yeah, we deserve to be where we are. Quick one. You said to me, we have to maintain it. And you're like, look, we have to stay here now. We're nervous about it. But I want to give you Forest League position at the end of each game week so far. So every game week up to game week 28, this is where we've been. Okay. Because it gives you an idea of how consistent we've actually been and how we have maintained it this season. Game week 1, 9th. End of game week 2, 6th. Game week 3, 9th. Game week 4, 7th. That was probably around sort of like the beating Liverpool time. Game week 5, 8th. Game week 6, 10th. Game week 7, 10th. This was sort of just after Chelsea and the Fulham loss, the Chelsea draw that you and I went to. I mentioned that we went to a game again there. Don't call me out. Game week 9, 7th. Or sorry, game week 8, 8th. Game week 9, 7th. Game week 10, 3rd. That's the first time we went into 3rd. So that would have been after that run of beating Leicester Palace and then beating.
Yep, keep going. Keep that flow's good. That flow's good.
Game week 11, 5th. Game week 12, 7th. Game week 13, 6th. Game week 14, 7th. So this is probably around the time we're losing to Newcastle and Arsenal and Man City before Christmas. Game week 15, 5th. Here we go. Game week 16, 4th. Game week 17, 4th. Game week 19. Game week 18, 4th. Game week 19, 3rd. Game week 20, 3rd. Game week 21, 3rd. Game week 22, 3rd. Game week 23, 3rd. Game week 24, 3rd. Game week 25, 3rd. Game week 26, 3rd. Game week 27, 3rd. Game week 28, 3rd. I want 3rd. I don't just want to be in the Champions League place anymore. We deserve 3rd. We've been there. I want 3rd, Matthew.
I want 2nd.
Ooh, you think we can catch Arsenal 3 points behind them? They're rocking a little bit.
I don't care. I just want us to do well in the FA Cup and get Champions League. It'd just be class.
Yeah, no, it would be. But isn't that good to hear that we've actually maintained some sort of higher league top 6 consistency, 3rd for the last
really
quite number of weeks? It's great.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's incredible.
Do you want to talk about Ipswich a little bit?
Yeah, we have to, because that's the game. That's the game that's coming up, and we're expecting to win it. And that's one of the reasons what I don't want, despite joking about, discussing the lesser of two evils with Bournemouth joining us. Can you imagine how painful it's going to be if we do fall out of the Champions League positions and Bournemouth are the ones who take it?
For me, it's just going to be painful anyway. Because
but I'd rather it was Chelsea and Man City and Arsenal and Liverpool again. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, so would I.
Imagine if we drop out and Bournemouth take it.
Why do I have to imagine that? I don't need to imagine that for now, because we're in 3rd and Bournemouth drew first weekend.
It feels like a symbolic. It feels like a symbolic representation of every time we play them. That on a season-long scale, that actually that's what happens. We think we're going to be in Champions League, and by the end, we fall out of it and go to Europa, and they get Champions League. How would you feel about that?
Well, obviously, I would absolutely hate it because I don't like Bournemouth. They're one of our bogey teams. They always score late against us, or they trash us, or they do one or the other. They're a nightmare. The last 4 years, they've been that club for us. So obviously, how would I feel about that? You know how I'd feel about that. Bloody awful. But it doesn't matter because I believe in this team now. We just beat Man City. We're rolling on to Ipswich, and now we might just get it over the line. I'm not going to say might just. No, I'm not going to say do it because that's how we start every episode.
Yeah. We might.
Ipswich is Ipswich this weekend, right? They've got some good players. Hutchinson's back. Delap is a really.
It's kind of boring, isn't it? Because we've just played them in the cup and had to get penalties. It feels like a bit of a oh god, Ipswich again. It's sad that they're going to get relegated. It's a nice time. I'd rather Ipswich are up than Bournemouth or Brighton.
Especially because Ipswich gave it a good go. They spent about 140 million, 120 to 140 million. They've actually tried to.
But they're like us. They're like Wolves, Forest, Ipswich, Sheffield Wednesday.
Yeah,
Leeds,
big club. Big club. I think. Sorry, the one thing I'll say is Chief was talking to me there on Forest or us. It wasn't me. He was saying to the listeners, and there was a few of us on. He was on Forest Focus, and he mentioned
name dropping that you go on Forest Focus again.
No, I'm not name dropping. Sorry, I'm just telling you where. Okay, sorry. Next time I say that I'm down the pub with Jimmy John Joseph and I'm having a pint, I won't name the pub just in case I name drop it. I was just saying where I was. I'm not name dropping about that. No one cares. No one's even watching our podcast. Okay, so
500 people are. But yeah.
Well, yeah, whatever. And then there's another few thousand listeners, but whatever. I wish.
Just letting you all know we're not that. But
we're not that bad. No. But hear me out. I can't help it. You're right. But hear me out.
It's great.
The Ipswich game this weekend, Chief made a really good point. He said that he's glad that we played them in the FA Cup, had a bit of a battle against their second string side, and that we ultimately managed to come through that, but now we'll be wary of them. So we're not going to go into this game going, we've just beat Man City, we should dispose of Ipswich. Obviously, some of us will be thinking that, but in reality, the coaches and the players will go, hang on, we did play them. They had a second string side out. They put up a really good fight against us. We only beat them on penalties. So we'll go into this game quite wary. Not that I'm saying Nuno wouldn't prepare for it anyway, but you know what I mean? That's kind of a good thing.
There'll be a diligence about Nuno, but I suspect there'll be a nothing to lose and a let's be a banana skin for these Nottingham. I nearly said something rude then. But I reckon McKenna's going to be, it's just going to be a great game. It's going to be fireworks, not literal ones. I just think it's going to be, I hope it's not as like chessboardy and held back. I hope it's a full-on 5-4 to Forest.
I couldn't care less if we would 1-0.
I fancy that kind of emotional roller coaster this weekend.
Do you know what I fancy? I fancy getting our away form back because we've 2 big away games coming up. This and then the quarter final of the FA Cup in Brighton. And Forest, the last 3 away games have been really tough. We've lost to Bournemouth, we've lost to Fulham, we've lost to Newcastle. I was at that game, did you know? And then we've gone on to play Ipswich this weekend. We want to get our away form back. That's the thing, is we want to start winning away again.
If you because winning back to back is just hard generally. Would you rather lose to Ipswich and win to Brighton, sorry, or vice versa, and go out of the cup? I'd definitely rather lose to Ipswich.
That's a stupid, annoying question. Are you actually asking me to? Honestly, people are going to kill me for this, because we did the poll for who prefers FA Cup or Champions League, and everyone was like FA Cup, and that would take us to the semi-final. I think I'd rather beat Ipswich, and keep the league form going, and then we go out in the cup, and then we have a run in of 9 games after that, and we make Champions League, because I'm prioritizing Champions League, and I know you've put me in a really dark corner here, Matthew. You've made me say this because you know that people are going to come for me. I'd rather keep the league form going
and go out of the cup. So you're going to, because it's going to be hard.
I'm not saying I want to go out the cup.
It's going to. I mean, I really want to believe we can, but seeing Forest go and beat Ipswich and then go and beat Brighton on their turf after they're going to have a chip on their shoulders about the 7-0, tall order. Bigger test than the Man City game, actually.
Yeah, but this is the thing, Matt. Let me remind you of something. If we can beat Man City at home, and we can beat Liverpool away at Anfield, we've done that both sides of Christmas this season. We can win the FA Cup. We can win the FA Cup because Man City are the best team left in it, realistically, other than us. We can win the FA Cup. So I'm actually not worried about anything. After Saturday, I'm thinking we should go into Ipswich confident. All these players are going to be called up for international duty in a good mood for the next week. I imagine Gibbs White and a few others will get called up potentially for the England squad. A lot of the other players will get called up for their countries. And then we'll go into the weekend and the lads will give it everything they've got to beat Ipswich. And if we beat Ipswich this weekend, Matt, we really are on course, because then we've won back-to-back games. We stay a few points ahead. There's a few teams playing each other this weekend. I think Arsenal are playing Chelsea. Brighton are playing. Who are Brighton playing? I can't remember. City. So there's a couple of games this weekend where teams take points off each other. I heard that point on another podcast that I wasn't on. Don't worry, Red Side of the Trent. I heard them talk about that, and it's a very, very good point. And if Forest can win this weekend,
you need to get on grumpy old Reds.
Well,
they'd annihilate you. They need to get
on
Reds, and you're getting absolutely annihilated, and I'd love it.
Yeah, I know you would, and I know that that's kind of like what you've been pushing me towards, sort of like you. The problem is
take you to the cleaners.
Well, do you know what? Let's do it then. If you want, I've no problem. If you want to bring one of them on here, or I can go on theirs. And if you want to play that, if you want to play that faux podcast drama, we can do it.
No, Rob will come on.
No,
he's asked me.
Whoever, bring them all on. One by one, we can have a conversation. There's no problem there. If you want to do it, I don't mind, Matt. We can do that.
I'd love it.
Do you know,
back to business, Chris. Back to business. Back to business. We've both. What do you think the score's going to be?
Against Ipswich this week, I think we're going to win. I think we're going to win 2-1. I think we'll go 1-0 up. I think they'll level, and I think we'll score, and then we'll take the win out ourselves. Bear in mind, they're 6 points behind Wolves. They're fighting for their lives, but they have to win 3 games and Wolves lose or draw 1 and lose 2. You know what I mean? Like, because Wolves are so far ahead and their goal difference. So Ipswich are effectively really up against it now. So they'll be panicking, even though they're at home. But it'll be a tough game for sure. I reckon we win 2-1. And I reckon you see Morgan Gibbs White in the score sheet. And I reckon we see Chris Wood back on the score sheet as well. What about you?
So why do you always bring more? You think Morgan Gibbs White scores? You think Chris Wood scores? Do we think?
Well, what do you mean? What was the question? Sorry, mate. Go on, ask the question. What was the question?
God,
you were getting to something there.
I don't know. You always ask him. You always think that Morgan Gibbs White's going to score, and he never does. And then when he does, it looks like you've called it, because you always just say that he will. Do you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, but you could say the same about Chris Wood. I literally
he scored nearly 20 goals this season.
Yeah, but Matt, I believe Morgan Gibbs White will step up to the plate, and I mean, look, he's more an assists player like last weekend, that unbelievable ball for Callum Hudson-Odoi. But I just like calling it because it's just one of my players. You always call random people. I mean, for years
I was about
ago.
to say, I really fancy someone like Dominguez to just
Here we
get on
go.
the score sheet.
Well, Dominguez isn't that random, but like you sometimes
Doesn't have a goal this
I
season.
wonder.
Though.
I remember, like, sometimes you go, I think Matt Sells might put a long ball and it'll bounce over the keeper's head and go in. Like, sometimes you say stuff like that. You always do your little daft default habits that you have as well. But anyway, what do you think is going to happen?
I saw someone calling it, but my instinct was that it would be like 1-0 to Forest. Or maybe 1-1, actually. You can see Ipswich like really going for it. But then someone on another a big Premier League channel said that they think it's going to be 3-1 to Forest. I was like, really? Can we? It's like,
yeah, we
can.
definitely can.
Well, then we should be going for that then.
Well, that's fine. You were at a game a month ago where we beat
3-0
Brighton
7-0. 3-0. Let's go for 3-0.
Well, who's going to score? Tell me who's going to score. Matt
Sells. Dominguez. I'm going to go with who I want to score. I'm going to say Dominguez, Alanga.
You always say Alanga.
And Murillo.
Oh, shot from distance, header, good goal.
I want him. He needs like an overhead kick, Rooney style, from a corner.
I like that. That's a good one. Fair play.
I can see Murillo doing that one day, and then going out with his tongue.
I think. Look.
Wait, we have to talk about the guy that Hudson-Odoi celebrated with. That's just a fan, right?
Yeah, I think it is. It's a fan with like one of those like man bun things at the back of his head.
I mean, that's just kind of iconic. He's going to end up on a tifo on the Trent end one day, the back of his head, you know.
That was class. Did he just jump over there and then just rush?
Do you know what I mean?
Over? Yeah, no, I do know what you mean. That is iconic.
Need the designer doing their I can just see it one day. You're gonna have Callum Hudson, like this sort of artist impression of Callum Hudson-Odoi, like about to hug someone, and then just the back of this guy's head with a man bun. I think it's just such an iconic moment. I love it.
The funny thing is, I can't even remember seeing his face because I just see the back of his head.
That's my point. That's completely the point. No one can find an angle to see who it is. It's just the back of his head, and he's like that.
Did you see?
It's so class. It's so class.
There was a funny thing on Twitter where someone said, he never
He's going to become
Matt, this is funny. There was a funny thing where it had a picture of the back of this guy's head with the man bun, and then they cropped it with a picture of Felipe's man bun, and they said Felipe never left. It's very good. As if it was Felipe running down, hugging them on the side. It's gold. Mate, imagine if there's an illustrator out there who will do a picture of just the back of this guy's head and Hudson-Odoi celebrating.
Surely. Well, you can take
Jimmy,
screenshot.
NFFC, the cartoon.
Take a screenshot of the image and do some Photoshop work to create a stylized version of that image. I just love that it's a bit of an iconic image. You know, you get iconic moments and images in all the time. I mean, let's think of one. The
water bottle, Samba, the water bottle.
Samba, the water bottle, exactly.
You had a t-shirt. There'll be a t-shirt of this guy's head.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be just Hudson-Odoi and this guy. Exactly, his t-shirt fodder. Well, not fodder, that sounds negative, but you get what I'm saying. You had moments as well with Morgan with White Fingers in the Ears, the Wolves with Playtime. You had it with Joe Lolly, the negative ones, when we lost to Stoke that time, and he just hits the deck, and there's that shot of the back of his shirt. It just says Lolly. And what number was Joe Lolly? 16.
You always think
26.
of the negative. You always think of the negatives, don't you?
It's less about negative. It's more about evocative moments emotionally, isn't it?
Samba and the water bottle is one of the biggest ones. You have a t-shirt of the water bottle. So that's one of the big moments, because that was one of the first times someone had written them on the water bottle. I know it probably happened before, but it was the first time it was picked up in the media that someone had done that, you know?
I know what I wanted to ask before we wrap up this podcast. Sorry to cut you off. We want suggestions. Chris, clip this for Twitter. It gets a good response when you do it.
Go on.
I want to hear the Forest fans singing the Waka Waka again this year, because the Arsenal fans have nicked it from us.
They have.
And I think that we need to reclaim it. And I just thinking about what the lyrics could be, and it could be Champions League, who gives a fudge? And then the Reds are staying up.
Well, I imagine. I feel like maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like there is a Waka Waka still going. That's about Europe and that. I think so. I'm not in the
I've
stadium
not heard
enough.
it. Okay, I've not. Yeah, no, I've not heard it. But I'm not...
Well, you've been to about 3 games the last month, right? So you haven't heard it at all when you were there.
It
No?
might work just going back to the original lyrics. That points deduction. Who that might still be.
It was before it was points deduction. It was 30 signings. Who gives a? It was that. Then it was points deduction. Who gives a? And this year it's. Well, hang on. For anyone who's in the stadium more than we are, even though Matt's been there 3 times in the last few weeks, what is the latest Waka Waka if there is one?
What could the Waka Waka?
Yeah, or are we just letting Arsenal take it and win no trophy?
Signings, who gives a F? The Champions League, we are. I don't know.
The Champions League. God, you're all over the place.
Play music. I don't write lyrics.
Couple of housekeeping things, right? So, before we move on, a couple of housekeeping things, right? Andrea, your sister, we were going to talk about this at the very beginning of the podcast. We were going to chat about this, and I was going to let you away with it, but I'm not going to. I rang your dad,
by the way.
Well, her name is Andrea.
She's not some South American footballer. Andrea.
Is her name Andrea?
Andy.
Is her name Andrea or is it Andy? Which is it? Andrea. Is your name Andrea?
That's how it's spelt, but you're pronouncing it like
Andrea.
She plays for Spain.
What? Sorry, how do you say it then? You tell me how you pronounce Andrea.
Andy.
No, pronounce Andrea, the full name. Pronounce it. Go.
Andrea.
Oh, you're going Andrea. It's Andrea.
No, you're hitting A. You're saying, yeah. I mean, who?
Anyway, Andrea spoke to me, and I was on the phone to your dad, and she was in the background, and she said, "Is that Chris?" And she said, "Hey," and then we put on loudspeaker, whatever. And she goes, I started talking about Forest because she listens to the podcast right now. And the best thing about this was, she goes to me, "You do realize when Matt was younger, he had a Notts County jersey. I was a red first."
I've told you that before.
I don't think you have. I didn't know your first jersey was a Notts County jersey. Yes, you traitorous man. You traitorous man. Send him down with Robin Hood to the Prince of Thieves. He's a traitor.
I told you that I first went to a Notts County game.
I knew that, but I didn't know you had a jersey.
I had a jersey. I had a full kit, probably. I had the full kit.
Wow. But yeah, no,
that's why when I stick up for them now, you know why, don't you? And I'm like,
I know there's a little secret Notts County stuff in there. I've got it underneath my stupid hat and my tilted head because I have a crick in my neck, which I said I wouldn't mention.
I probably would still support them, but and it wasn't about glory supporting. It was about osmosis. I was in primary school and everyone was singing the Stan Collymore song, and it was just fun. And then
it was, and what?
And I got taken.
Why was that fun? Because we were third in the Premier League 94-95, and now 30 years later, we're third in the Premier League 24-25. Can we keep it up? I think we can. No, we're not out of here just yet, Matt, because I want you to enjoy a couple of things. All right, so
I really got to go. I'm getting straight to work.
No, but first thing, just really quickly before you go, because I know you have to go, but really, really quickly, you're going to enjoy this. We've done a podcast predictor league with all the other podcasts. You're gonna love. This is gonna absolutely pain me. We've done a podcast predictor league. My predictions of those games, you get points for them. Everyone, it shows a list of all the players, and then it shows a list of the podcasts and how well they're doing. We're Forest all over. You, Chief, Ross, Will, me are all in. We're all.
And we got Chief.
Yeah, but guess what? Chief and Ross are doing the best. They're carrying us in terms of their predictions. You have suddenly started to do reasonably well, and you're somewhere in the middle. Will has only got 3 points. He's only got 1 right. I am bottom of the league, the only one with 0. The only, rock bottom. And everyone can see it.
Yeah, Wolfie sent me. Yeah.
And I got a message from your mate, Wolverine, right? And he basically was slagging me off. And I said, my predictions, though, I've only predicted 2 losses for the whole season since that Bournemouth game. And so basically, I was uber optimistic. But then I realized my mistake was, if I go back, I predicted we'd beat Bournemouth. Got that wrong. I predicted we draw with Brighton. Got that wrong. Predicted we draw with Fulham. Got that wrong. Predicted we draw with Newcastle. Got that wrong. Predicted we beat Arsenal. We ended up drawing with them. And then predicted a loss last weekend. Obviously, I changed it to a draw on this podcast, but it doesn't matter. I got it wrong. So I don't think my predictions have been crazy. And I've just been getting them wrong. And do you know what it is? It's you, Matt. You were right. I predict too many draws. That's my problem. I've predicted too many draws. I've sat on the fence. The splinters are up my arse. And I just want to beat Ipswich this weekend, but I know that I've messed up. So look, I knew you'd have a little bit of a giggle about that. I knew you'd.
So what did you predict for Ipswich this week?
Win. Obviously, win. I think we'll win.
Did I?
Well, I don't know.
I go on my. I predict we end on 70.
State.
No, I said that mine. I said we end up on 74 points in Champions League. So we're still on track for that.
You're a bit of a scumbag because you predicted we would beat Brighton, or I think you predicted we'd beat Brighton pre-Bournemouth on the predictor, and then you changed your prediction to like a loss or a draw because you were having a panic attack. So you've actually switched up and managed to get points, but you're in my team. We should be together on this, but I know you'll want me to be rock bottom forever. I know the way you are.
It's not wanting you to be rock bottom. It's the fact that you're only 1-0. Newport.
It's great. So pathetic. It's so pathetic. It's funny because Will and Danscape are on like 3. They're not doing well either, and it's like they're pretty good at predicting in stats and stuff like that. But anyway, Elliot will be on next week.
I love you're dragging that in to make yourself look less foolish.
Well, yeah, because I've explained why I look
these
less
guys
foolish.
that everyone's heard of.
Well, I'm sorry for not predicting many losses for my football team, Matt. I'm really sorry that I predicted a win when we draw against Arsenal. Like, I've been very, very unlucky, right? That's the reality of it. Forest Fantasy 5s, I really hope to God. I mean, will we just pack it in? It's embarrassing for me at this stage. Well, it's embarrassing me because I'm constantly asking people for their teams. Right.
Okay.
I want the data.
I will this weekend be doing the admin, and I'll be catching up on the admin this weekend.
I want the data crunch tomorrow, not next week, not next month, not next flipping year.
I'm round the clock editing till the weekend.
Well,
I can't even do any more of this podcast, Chris. I'm round the clock.
Well, I know, but the players were
the admin's all there. I just need to implicate it into the table. I'm really sorry, everyone. I am really sorry. It's a great game, and thanks for playing. But it's going to be great to see it all unfold and see where it puts everyone in the table. I imagine it.
We're about 6 game weeks behind on your stupid game that you created at the start of the year. Crunch the data.
Okay, I'll crunch the data. Let me crunch it this weekend. It's going to be about a 6-hour job that now.
Okay, well, just get it. You were the one that created the game. It would be less than 6 hours if you hadn't waited 6 games.
It's normally an hour a week I put into it just to implement.
Oh, there you go. There's
I've given myself a task on Sunday.
Yeah, you have. By the way, Stuart Pearce, quick one on him. Obviously, he was.
No, we don't need to.
No. Just listen. Just listen.
You're no newsreader.
I'm not reading the news. I'm not. We've just named this episode. I'm going to name this episode You're No One, Chris. Well, that's what we'll name the episode. Just shut up and let me talk. You didn't crunch the data. You don't have the right to say anything right now. Stuart Pearce was obviously taken ill, and then now he's recovered, and he's been out in TalkSport talking about the love that the outpouring he got from the Forest fans. I just want to say he's an absolute legend. You know this because you started supporting Forest, and so did I. And that
he's my favourite all-time Forest player.
And I was going to ask you a really nice question to couple with this because you know what? That applause and the singing, psycho, on 3 minutes was unbelievable. I was standing up applauding in my living room going, I love it. And Piercy got a bit emotional on TalkSport talking about the Forest fans. And I just love that. He knows that we love him. And he actually used to play for City as well. A few of their fans were pretty good too. But here's the thing I want to say. I wanted to ask you, what is your favourite Stuart Pearce moment? Because I have mine.
It's that celebration when he goes... Oh, there's a tackle he does, and that famous tackle, sliding tackle.
Well, there's a few, right? So mine is I think he scored a free kick against Chelsea years ago when I first started supporting Forest. That was one big moment for me. But the big one, obviously, is when he came back to management and we beat Derby late, and we're in Derby County's ground going, and he's there going, away in Derby, Ben Osborne, late goal. That's my favorite sort of. Recent
him as a manager is cheering. That was good, but also him walking out the tunnel for his first game was pretty incredible.
Oh, that first game in charge as manager, yeah. Psycho,
the whole stadium, so like, so Roman, such a Roman or Greek arena sort of atmosphere, just baying crowd singing that hero's name. It's incredible.
And what I love is. The images I have are him in his sort of later career in that Labatt's cool Forest jersey, because that was the first time I supported them around '96, and then he took over as sort of caretaker manager when we were on our way down. But he was yeah, look, everyone knows Pierce. He's an absolute legend. But I just love the outpouring from the Forest fans. I love how we band together for him. He's an absolute legend.
He loves going to the theatre as well. I've noticed that when he talks. He goes to the theatre in London a lot. He's cool. No, that doesn't mean people don't go to the theatre. They're not cool.
By the way, Matt's a theatre actor, everybody, because you didn't know.
No, I'm saying that he likes it. He's got a lot of dimensions to him, Stuart Pearce, and you can tell from his sense of humour. He's so sharp.
Well,
you'd be screwed talking to him because you just think
I think I'd be screwed.
You'd be playing catch up constantly. Okay, so can we talk about Ipswich, Stuart?
Okay. Well, this is weird slightly, but no, listen, you're not sorry. Thanks for coming on. It's been an absolute mayhem situation. I'm in bits here. It's early morning. Thank you for coming on. I know you've given your time to come on the podcast that you created 5 years ago with me. You waste of space. But hopefully, I will. My next game will hopefully be Everton. But we will see what happens at Ipswich this weekend, and then we'll come back for the quarterfinal, and we'll do a podcast with you, me, and Elliot. Should be on the podcast.
And Irene. Yes, we're getting Elliot on. Legend, I promised.
Yeah. So it'll be me, you, and Elliot doing a preview for the quarterfinal. We'll probably take a week break.
You kicked his can down the road for ages. I promised that I'd get him on immediately after the Ipswich FA Cup game, and then.
I'm not going to edit this. So
organising podcasts is such a headache. Yeah. Fine. See you later, Elliot, and everyone else.
You're a disgrace for doing that. Trying to bury me at the end of this podcast, Elliot. That's not true. I didn't kick the can down the road. I had lots of things lined up. Matt wouldn't know because he didn't involve himself. Well, Elliot. Me and Elliot will have a private conversation about you. Anyway, Elliot, you'll be on. Very funny.
We've got to go. Look, thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening. Follow us at NFFC all over on X or at forestallover on Instagram. I hope you've enjoyed our semi-preview and nonsense throughout. But we're back quarterfinals after this weekend. Hopefully we go and beat Ipswich.
Get your Waka suggestions in, please. I'm desperate to hear what it could be, or tell me what it is if I've missed it.
Yeah. Okay, and take care. Bye-bye.